We're back with another Quicksilver video demo. We're going to get back to basics so we can start from scratch and everybody can be on the same page. Okay, so we're going to start off with a fresh install here. I'm going to run through the setup, accept the license agreement. It's going to go through the initial plugin setup. I want to add all the plugins that they've got here. I'm going to run through all the plugin additions here in a moment, but these are the initial installation options. So I pretty much install all of them. I'll ignore Pathfinder because I'm not using that right now. Go from there. It's going to download and install those plugins for me. Yep, always install the required plugins. We want that because a lot of these plugins depend on one another to do it. So I'm setting the original pre-Tiger, so I like the command space. You may prefer the control space. That's the default. Right here, I'm just going to remap the spotlight to control space since I'm swapping the two command keys. So you may choose to do the same. Okay, rescan the catalog every 10 minutes. Okay, go ahead and continue, and let's get started. Let's go through our setup here on the Applications tab. Start at Login, warn before quitting, enable advanced features, which requires a relaunch of Quicksilver. Okay, back to the screen. We want to use beta releases, another relaunch. Using the beta and up to the minute updates and all that gives us all the goodies that you might not get. It'll be a little less stable, but you're going to have a lot more fun. I want to check for updates pretty much every day, as often as possible. Download the updates in the background, and I want the development versions just to make sure that I'm getting the best and latest stuff. On the plugins tab, first you want to show all plugins. It's not going to show you very many, so down at the bottom you want to select to rescan. Where's the option? Refresh the list of plugins. Now, let's go down the list. We're going to add a bunch here. Starting with the airport module, automator module. What else? Backpack module. I'm going to add the Bluetooth module. Calculator. Camino. I want the clipboard module. I also want the command line tool for when I'm working in the terminal. I can pipe things to Quicksilver. Constellation menus are for gestures if you're into that. Delicious bookmarks. Desktop picture actions. I'm going to go for the dictionary module. Disk image support. Displays module. I want the extra scripts. Lots of good scripts included there. File attribute actions. This gives access to some Spotlight commands. File compression module. File tagging module is going to be a big one for a lot of the things that I will allude to in future demos. The Flickr upload is pretty cool if you're a Flickr user. Growl notifier. iCal module. Image manipulation actions are great. iPhoto module. Next, I'm going to use the mouse triggers module. and network location module, notification hub, phone actions, process manipulation actions, so you can kill processes and things straight from Quicksilver, Safari stand queries, Solid clicker, screen capture actions, services menu module, shelf module, slideshow action. Let's see. I want the spotlight module and Sagudi queries. I want my synergy artwork, system hotkeys, the terminal module should already be installed. Text manipulation actions for appending. I want the unit conversion, user accounts module, user interface access, web search module. And I believe that's it for the purposes that we will be using here. You may actually choose to install additional plugins here, and that's totally fine. It's your choice. These, however, are the ones that I'm using. It's nearly impossible to tell which ones build on which other plugins. So these are the ones to have to make sure that you will be able to duplicate the functionality of some of the things that I'll be showing in the future. Okay, let's get the rest of our preferences set. Back on the main applications panel, just a quick review. We've got the start at login, warn before quitting, and enable advanced features in beta modes. We want to get development versions, and I'm checking on a daily basis, so those will download automatically. On the Actions tab, this shows all the actions that you can perform while you're in Quicksilver. Things like switching to a different user, running commands in a shell, running an iPhoto slideshow, show files matching tag. I use that a ton with my metadata hierarchy scheme. Appearance, I prefer the bezel look. Primer is the default, so yours may look different than mine in my examples. Calculator runs quick calculations. Catalogs are all the things that get indexed. You especially want to make sure you've got your scripts all selected and the Quicksilver sources all selected. You may need to run a rescan of those to make sure they're up to date. You can create custom catalogs in case you want to go more than a couple levels deep in some folders versus others. The depth of scanning will affect your CPU, so choose wisely. Your clipboard, you can choose how many items are kept in the clipboard history. The command, this is what launches it, and some display options for the interface. Command line tool. I like to set my default compression to zip so that I can send it to Windows or Mac or whoever. Email options and extras. I'm not going to get into these right now. You've got enough to deal with without worrying about these extras here. With things like capitalized keys, instead of having to hit tab, you can type in lowercase and then go capitalize to get into the actions screen. But don't worry about that now. Notifications I like through Growl, and since I use Gmail and not the mail.app, I'll send my things through the Gmail. Notifications hub, I like to use Growl. Plugins. I'll scroll through these real quick. You can pause and restart your video to make sure you're all set with these. There's a bunch of them. You can also choose, instead of all plugins, you can choose to have just the installed plugins to see where you're at there. Tags, I use this a lot. I use the ampersand instead of an @ sign because Spotlight doesn't confuse my searches. And triggers, we'll deal with these in another demo. That's it. Let's take a look at the actions that we're going to be using, because these are pretty important for all the things that we want to do. So go to Preferences and Actions. We're going to be sorting by all actions as the type. You can see some are not checked by default, so we'll want to go in and check those. They're also ranked in the order that they'll show up, so you can re-rank those depending on your preferences. So let's see, let's get the delete action installed, selecting command window, open URL with. I'm going to grab the activate, open it login, set iChat status, and email item, send directly. I used this in the first video demo that I did. This is the big one that I like. Email to send, lower priority, set priority, kill process, raise priority, list open files. We're also going to do launch as root, launch a copy, put on shelf, prepend to, prepend text, change to, show results for search, get file URL, get file path. That should be about it. As I close here, I will scroll the installed plugins one last time slowly so you can review those and make sure you've got everything you need. That's about it for the Back to Basics Quicksilver video tutorial. I wanted to make sure everybody's got their setup done properly, or at least the same way that I have, so that when I do subsequent video demos, there shouldn't be as many issues about how did you get that to work. I don't have that. If we're all working off the same setup, or at least a lowest common denominator setup, we should be able to avoid those missteps next time. So let me know what questions you've got in the comments, and next time around we'll get into some of the actual more fun stuff of executing some very cool Quicksilver tricks. Thanks for tuning in.